Hello, hello everybody. My name is Shmuel, like Samuel. That's my cat. Uh, anyway, if you heard, I don't know. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about the Kirk assassination theory. One of the theories about the Kirk assassination, and I want to analyze the theory that Charlie Kirk was murdered by Israel or the Jews or whichever. Okay, um, this is a critical evaluation, meaning I'm going to try to use logical methods, reasoning, everything, all kinds of tools that I will show you to evaluate this theory. Okay, we can consider anything. I'm for free thought, free thinking, freedom of speech, freedom. So I'm going to try to, but the thing is, we were given abilities. Some people would say by God, whatever you believe. Some people would say that these are abilities that we developed, whatever. I'm not saying what my opinion is right now. I'm not getting into it, but we have abilities that proven abilities that we can use in order to ascertain what is reality, or like to see what is truthful or what is not, right? So, to evaluate reality, uh, to an agreed upon narrative or agreed upon truth. Okay. In other words, we have abilities that we can use, we should use, in order to get to the truth. And it's not about those who seek the truth have to make it about the truth, have to follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of their bias or what they want to believe or what they feel like or their psychology is like. Okay, so be a truth seeker in the sense that recognize how you feel about it and what you want to believe or whatever, but still stick to the evidence, stick to your abilities to ascertain the truth. Okay, so I'm going to use my method today. I'm going to use uh, OMLCE. So OMELCE. O as in origin of the theory, M motivations behind the theory, E evidence, L logic, okay, C comparison with other theories and stuff, and finally E evaluation, to put it all together and to evaluate whether the theory is factually correct or is closer to the truth. Um, okay. So before I begin, I want to stress why is it important to analyze this theory? So to those who don't know, this is a theory that gained some popularity online in social media, and some prominent influencers with millions of views. And it's not only amongst people who hate Israel or hate Jews. Oh, there are plenty of those around. Don't get me wrong, but some who looked into the theory or who believe this theory are intelligent people who just go down this rabbit hole, or follow influencers, or believe certain influences or stuff like that. I mean, I even had a conversation with an intelligent Jew I know, and who actually was for this theory or was looking into it in a serious way. And so he himself is Jewish, so it's not because of Jew hate necessarily. There are all kinds of reasons for people to be drawn to certain types of ideas. It could be a person that is anti-establishment. So whatever is the main narrative or the governmental or establishment narrative, he tends to go the opposite, or all kinds of things like that. Okay, so this theory is important to me. Okay, and I want to say also about my own bias. Okay, I believe it's important to recognize your bias when you're trying to analyze something. So, for instance, when people publish a paper, a scientific paper, there's a conflict of interest clause, right? You have to say if you're working for a pharmaceutical company, that's legal, that's legal. But I believe they should add like a more personal, less official bias clause where the scientist or the researcher tries to honestly understand what his bias is, convey it, and tell how he's gonna bypass his bias or how he's gonna keep it in check. Okay, so I'm doing it right now. My bias is first bias. I'm an Israeli Jew. I live in Israel and I'm a Jew. I love, I'm for Jews. I'm a big Jew. Okay, so you can understand. I don't like it very much when they, blame my people for everything or whatever. Of course, this hurts me. So this is my bias. This is my first bias. My second bias, I loved or love Charlie Kirk. I really, and I detest that the people so freely, so absent-mindedly, like I don't detest people trying to get at the truth, but people do it so easily, so lightly. You know what I mean? They don't care who they, just throw around all kinds of theories. So and some of them are against what he stood for, and against what his organization stands for, and stuff like that. So that's my second bias. Now, how will I attempt to overcome my biases? Nobody can ever totally overcome biases. But if you are aware of the biases, and first of all, for me, truth is one of the highest values there is. So if I will believe this is truthful, I will say it, or I will keep my mouth shut, but I won't lie. That means if I believe this theory could be true, I would probably not be making this video. After my analysis, okay, but I wouldn't make a video to lie about it. No way. The truth is much more important to me than my identity as anybody. As I would be I'm nothing. I don't care. I'm the air. But the truth is much more important. That's first of all. And I strive for objective critical thinking. That will also help me to bypass my biases. And all of us, also me, I should be willing to go where the evidence and logic will take me. So I'm going on a journey, and my destination isn't known. It shouldn't be about, I know that I want this to be true, so I will use all my mental capacities and my logical gymnastics in order to show you that it's true. No, it should be, I'm going to critically evaluate it, even when it's not comfortable for me, whatever. If I reach a truth that is uncomfortable, this is probably the truth, right? Go where the evidence leads, okay? So let's start. Number one, origin and context of the theory. Share. Go. Here you go. Okay, so this is a small mind map. It goes, whatever. So anyway, who proposed the theory? First of all, we talked about all kinds of activists, many of whom are prominent anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish activists like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, but also it's a lesser known fact that there were some bots and foreign paid influencers that propagated not only this theory, but other theories about Kirk's assassination. I mean, for instance, state-controlled media in Russia, China, and Iran have mentioned Kirk's assassination more than 6,000 times, and they give each government gives the story its own spin, right? So here we have I've added multiple sources, some on the right, some on the left, right? So you can so you don't so we're more objective. So here you go, influencers, blah blah. You can look it up yourself. Exploit division. It's something. The Cold War, like during the first Cold War with the USSR, and now the Cold War, which is not so cold. It's kind of warm since 2020 with the CCP. What they do, they try to undermine internal cohesiveness of Western countries like the USA, and they use this too. I mean, that's what they do. They have no. I mean, here you go. You got this more left leaning things. You can read about it, and this is more right wing, I think. So anyway, so it's also bots and foreign paid influencers that did this, right? And when did this happen? When did the theory first arrive? One day after Charlie Kirk's murder, assassination, people already began to propagate this theory. Now, this is a little bit weird if you ask me, because if you're a serious person, how can you know after one day anything? I mean, let alone this complicated thing. So this is, for me, it's another proof that it's not serious, because they go to a direction that they want to go. I mean, any serious person would wait until there's more evidence and stuff like that. Okay, but one day after the assassination, there was already this theory going around. Now, why would people invent or go to this theory? So some people think because facts led them. We'll see that it's not right. But for now, for me, apart from Jew hate, Israeli hate, stuff like that, apart from people always trying to blame puts their blame on others or a certain entity or whatever, a minority. I think for other people, this theory, I mean, there's a very strong cognitive dissonance in what happened to Charlie Kirk. If you believe just idiot, like far left idiot, half out of his mind, just decided to shoot, and he shot him and killed him. Like, it's kind of, what? This is the world we're living in? Like, that one person just can choose to do such a thing so easily, and that's it? I mean, it's even for me, it's very uncomforting. It's very like, it's sad. It's like, I'm distressed by this, because like, what kind of world is it? It's like Charlie Kirk was like the best of us. He was like, if you see a society like as a growing of like stuff, like he was a flower. He grew so big and bright and beautiful, and then just one morning, one day, some idiot like cut it off, like that. So it's like, no, I don't believe that. There's something bigger here. There's these bad guys who went under the okay. There is something bigger here, because that lone guy was not a lone guy. He was brainwashed. He was people goaded him into this action from university professors and media. The media has blood in his hands, their hands. They really do. They really need to take responsibility. I mean, they all the time they play this political game, this us versus them, and come on, and be moral grown-ups here. This isn't a game. You all the time, they all want to win here in Israel too. They all the time want to win. It's all the time about the game of our group versus your group. Come on already, stop. I mean, please. I don't know what, like, it's terrible. Anyway, so what is the context of this? We're living in 2025 right now. Israel has been in the war for 2 years after the biggest, most terrible massacre since the Holocaust against them, against us, and support for Israel has gone down. European countries has like all kinds of boycotts, all kinds of blah blah. The UN has a like totally false and propaganda report about genocide, about the apartheid, about all the height, all kinds of lies about Israel, and especially young people from Western countries, Americans and others, are influenced by this propaganda. And they show them many times also pictures of babies and stuff like that. Part of the times it's just lies. They take pictures from other conflicts, or let's say a baby that had cancer and he died and he was very thin, and then they say it's starvation. A lot of lies and propaganda, and young people are very susceptible to it. And social media has filter bubbles, which that means that you go into like a bubble of confirmation bias, that you see something and they give you the same kind of information, and then grows and grows and grows, and then you don't see anything else outside the bubble. You don't have any balance of other people to tell you no, it's not right. So people actually get brainwashed. It's a very dangerous phenomenon. So okay, going on. What are the motivation and biases of the people propagating this theory? For the social influencers, for influencers like Candace and Kaka and stuff like that, they grew their platform. I mean, for instance, for Candace, you got, for one of her videos about the Israel Gone Done It videos, she got like second in Spotify or something, number 2 in the whole world or something like that. So okay, so here we go. The first theory, evidence, and logic. First of all, the assumptions or the theories. One day, this is 11 on the 11th, September 11th, 25, right? One day after the assassination, this guy with a very peaceful name. I'm sorry. See, Israel killed Kirk. I don't even want to say it. Here we go, So he knows. He has a source. Oh, wait, this is from 13th, September 13th, whatever. The other thing is from, this one is from, okay, whatever. Yeah, I mixed up. Okay, this is from 13th, right? Okay, so day after the assassination, this guy, blah, 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 blah. Less than 24 hours, okay, the internet figured out, the internet, right? He was their friend. He basically dedicated his life to them, and they murdered him. And he Israel just shot, right? Whatever, right? So day after, the internet figured it out. I mean, these guys, I mean, it's just, come on, man. We'll get into it, okay? And this is the 13th September, this guy with a nice, interesting name. And look at this, more than 500,000 views at the time, right? So this is the theory. Now, this is the beginning, right? So the assumptions are that they weren't happy with Charlie, and he was pressured from Jewish billionaire donors, blah blah blah, that funded TPUSA, and that's why they killed him. Okay. So this guy Max Blumenthal, blah blah. He's anti-Israeli. He's Jew, I think. He's a leftist, anti-Israeli commentator, a journalist or whatever. He used to work for a Qatar-funded newspaper, and right, he claims this is the so. Although they present no evidence of this whatsoever, nothing. The only thing close to evidence is an interview with Megyn Kelly that Kirk did, I don't know, maybe a month ago, where he and Megyn Kelly expressed their frustration that even though they're such big Israeli supporters, the minute they criticize something or call out something about Israel, people call them anti-Semitic or pressure them and stuff like that, right? So somebody asked Prager about this, and he said he condemned this. This shouldn't be the case, of course. And also, I say to my fellow Jews or Israel supporters, I mean, try to chill when in these situations. But also for other people, you need to understand that Dennis Prager said it too. Jews are allowed to be paranoid. If any group of people is allowed to be paranoid, it's the Jews. So let's go back to the theory. There is no evidence. They just say have a source. We have a source. Blah blah blah, and they never show the source. Never show the the evidence, right? Blah blah blah. Okay, so this is another thing they show. So before I go into this interview, I want to state that Charlie Kirk, his whole life, until the very last moment of his life, he was a strong believer in his faith, Christian faith, and a very pro-Israeli person. That this was a deep part of his religious belief. So to say that suddenly he would turn into something else, it's just there's no evidence for that. There's actually no evidence. Like, even if you take a small criticism he had, he even when he said his criticism, it was like, I wish they would have ended the war sooner and done it faster because it's bad for them, for their, it's not because he cared about Israel. Even when his criticism wasn't is from caring. You can see it plainly from his videos, right? And okay, so for instance, before I get into this, just a second, Candace claimed she was his close friend, stuff like that. They weren't close friends for years. She hadn't been in a Turning Point event for a long time, for years, according to Josh Hammer, who's he actually knows what's going on there. And she didn't even go to the funeral or to the memorial event. So, and she claims so many things that are just untrue. Even that is untrue. They were once close, but it was a long time ago. And I don't understand how she can not going to the memorial event, not being invited to the funeral, right? So Josh Hammer, who was a real close friend, refuted this theory about the pressure, the millionaire, stuff like that. He wrote about the meeting with a millionaire that they had. So he said there was no intervention, not from Ackman, that is the Jewish millionaire, not from Babylon B CEO Seth Dillon, not from anyone else. He states this in an interview. He says, Kirk was critical of the way some pro-Israel advocates advance their arguments, but he was not critical of the underlying substance. On the contrary, he only doubled down on his opposition to Islam and suggested that Israel is a natural ally in the fight against jihadism. Ackman and Kirk interacted very amicably. This is from Josh Hammer. He was actually in the room, in the place. Okay? And where can you see? I can show you this. The journalists behind the report, okay, this is about, I told you, Blumenthal, that he was Jazeera, whatever, connected to Qatar and stuff like that. So anyway, where were we?
Never let the death of a best friend
never let the death
go to waste if you can use.
Exactly. So about this is another data point that they try to put. Kirk had an interview, it wasn't his final interview, but the final interview, one of his last interviews with Ben Shapiro. And I actually have this transcript of this. What they claim is Kirk showed he was turning on Israel, right? Because he offered some questions. But the fact is, he watched the interview. Well, the truth is, he only asked questions and asked Shapiro to clarify some things. And even in his questions, he was very pro-Israel and the Jews. So it's nothing. There was nothing there it's exaggerated, totally out of whatever. Here, for instance, he said, I was going to say, Ben, come, you Jews own the media, Ben. So, I mean, come on, as you could tell by all the wonderful headlines you guys get, this is an irony, he said that. He also said, I think you can have disagreements on Israel and still be MAGA. Obviously, you should be America first, but if you're pro-Hamas, you're something darker, and we shouldn't put up with that. Ben, tell us about your important new book. And he promotes Ben's book, which is very pro-Israel. It's all, again, all the data points that they bring, if you look at it objectively and fully, not like bits and pieces, it's clear that it's bullshit what they're trying to claim here. Okay, going on. Okay, about the now. I'm going to turn into let's look at the logic of the claim. Okay, the logic of the claim that Israel assassinated Kirk because he was turning into something else. Okay, the assumption is that Israel knew for 100% this hypothetical thing that Kirk was going to turn to something else, to turn 100 degrees what he was in his entire life. They knew this was going to happen, right? And Israel thought it would benefit them so much that they would risk doing this whole assassination thing that would be a catastrophe if anybody found out, right? So what this theory does is takes an unproven hypothetical that is contrary to the facts, right? And then they make a huge logical leap and say, well, this he was going to do. They turn the hypothetical into something substantial, and they say that Israel knew that it was going to happen. They could anticipate this, right? Wow, and they didn't wait until it happened, right? They didn't wait. They just killed him. I mean, I think it's this logic is close to madness, in my opinion. It's like it doesn't make sense. And I want to convey another thing. Israel does not kill those that speak against it. That is a fact. That is a fact that recently was stated by the former head of Mossad, Yossi Cohen, I think, in a recent interview. I mean, you can say, hey, blah, 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 liar, whatever. Say what you want. He stated that. So, but apart from that, historically speaking, when was it ever, like, we can list the Mossad assassinations against real terrorists that caused real damage, that were real murderers, and most of the time Mossad took responsibility. But when, I mean, in history, did Israel assassinate somebody that spoke against it? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm not even talking about Kirk. Kirk was exactly opposite. He was pro-Israeli. But there are many influential academics inside Israel that speak lies about Israel. Actually, the media, the Haaretz, many people outside Israel like to quote Haaretz, this great newspaper, Haaretz, right? This is a radical left-wing newspaper that most Israelis, decent Israelis, despise, because it's like a propaganda newspaper that many times actually spews total lies against Israel. And even so inside Israel, we have some part of the population that spews terrible propaganda against Israel and does terrible damage, and nobody touches them. So I mean, it's just not something that it's not. We are a democratic country. We have faults here. We have corruption, whatever. Yes, we have that, regretfully. But still, freedom is very important to us as a people also. It's a very important value to Israel, and also in Judaism. The one of the most basic things in Judaism is that let my people go is freedom. That's how my people came to be, came to the Sinai, got the Ten Commandments after we broke free from slavery in Egypt. Freedom, liberty is one of the most important values for me, for us, okay? And also freedom of speech. It's just not a mode of operation. So it's like special pleading. No, only this time against somebody that spoke for you, Israel. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. So to summarize this part, Israel did not know that Charlie Kirk was supposedly going to turn. There was no indication this would happen. He continued to advocate for Israel until his last breath. You have videos of him refuting claims by anti-Israel students in recent recording videos. And you have no video where he said otherwise. What do you need more than that? Okay, so let's go to the next step. Internal logic and structure. Okay. First of all, I want to show you some other theories. Okay. Here. Some other people who spew this crazy theories about Israel, for instance, spew this theory suggesting, I don't even, you read it for yourself. This is terrible. I don't know, like, I mean, how can you, it's evil. It's evil. This is a widow. She's a grieving widow. And they just make it up. They totally make it up. There's no evidence for it at all. I mean, there isn't. And Candace Owens, I mentioned her. She one of the biggest, propagator of this Israel gone Donna theory and other is anti-Israel, anti-Jew hate.
A Polish underground symbol, like a Polish communist underground symbol that no one recognized outside of people who know what it meant. Strangely, I'm not kidding, I'm going to show you these messages. I came across what looked to me like a bunch of people talking about bees.
Okay.
All these people are really actually, quote unquote, bee farmers, or saying that they farm bees.
There's a movie about
this lingo that I'm not understanding? There is some weird underground, it's like I sense like imminent danger is coming, and for some reason, there's an underground that has emerged at schools, and it's like related to bees.
Let's talk about bees.
So Candace Owens, one of her theories is some sort of communist bees cult, something that was next to the place the shooting happened. I don't know, man. This is recent. This is right now. So she just feels things. She has a sense, you know. She's very confident. The thing is, these people, these influencers, they speak with confidence. And some of them, like Candace, are very intelligent. They know how to talk, to tell a story, to tell a narrative. And young people are very influential, right? They're suggestive. And but I'm showing you an example of her logic, of her what she, you know. This is just one point. I don't want to. It's not I put this in front of. I didn't try to poison the well to show. Oh, no. But you should know, like other things that come out of her mouth, right? So, moving on. Are there any contradictions or ambiguities to this theory? Okay, let's look at this. Muslims, for instance, many Muslims and many leftists cheered his death openly, while Israel mourns his death, including the week of his death. A very popular right-wing television show, I think almost every night they showed clips in his memory. This is in Israel, and in Netanya, what is it? Yeah, in Netanya, which is a kind of a large city for Israel, I guess. They announced that one of the main squares in the city will be named after Charlie Kirk. Right? And I have to say also that we are planning an event in his memory. So you're saying, so the theory goes that that Israel knew he was going to turn for no reason, and then they assassinated him, and then we wept. We were sad about it, and then the other side is happy about his death. I mean, go figure. I mean, it's just, I don't know, right? So moving on. So in this following video, Charlie's best friend and the Turning Point guy, I forget his name, he talks about he dispels the lies, some of the lies, and for Candace claimed that Charlie is gonna become Catholic or something like that. Why was she saying that? Because I guess Catholics are like less pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, but that's not the case. I mean, there's no evidence he was becoming Catholic, and his best friend said, just he was asked about it and said no, absolutely not. It wasn't happening. Here you go. Wait a second. So two.
Was he becoming Catholic?
No, but
okay.
So you just heard it from Charlie Kirk's best friend, Andrew Kolbeck, that he was not becoming Catholic. And he's also saying how people were saying things that were not true. We know that, unfortunately, Candace Owens was one of the main voices, if not the main voice, who came out and made these claims. And it's so sad that Turning Point is having to do this so shortly after his death. Because of some...
Okay. Second point here is Charlie's position on Israel.
Charlie's position on Israel was very clear. I like them more than I like Hamas. I just wish I was free to criticize Israel and not be labeled an anti-Semite. And
I think Charlie Kirk made that clear when he went on Megyn Kelly's show. And here's the thing. I'm glad that Andrew is the one who's speaking on Charlie Kirk and kind of what he meant and things like that. I think
Okay. And the last point here in this video is about the point about the donors. The donors, they say donors were pressuring him, blah, blah, blah.
A problem with that.
It's not a whole lot of Jewish donors. It's just not. There was always, I saw the comments online, like, oh, the Jewish shekels or something like that. I mean, it's all this gross stuff. It just wasn't true.
Interesting. So Candace Owens had said that Charlie Kirk was being pressured by donors, and she was making it seem as though those were Jewish donors, because she was talking about the Jews, and she thinks that the Jewish people possibly had something to do with Charlie Kirk's death, which is just crazy to me. She thinks that the Jewish government had something to do with it. But here we go. Here we go.
Thank you, Tamara. Okay, so that's that. And for Candace, it's a lot of trust my intuition stuff. It's a lot of I have the sources, I have the receipts, and she never shows the receipts. She promises evidence, and she never shows it. And what are the counter evidence? What is the counter evidence to this theory? That Charlie Kirk was Israel's probably #1 supporter in the world till his last moment. That's like, you can't get any straightforward than that. And that I can't speak for all of Israel, but we love Charlie Kirk. I personally mourned his death for a week. It actually affected my health. No kidding. Maybe I'm strange that way, but I've been following him for years, and I view him as my brother because he was a truth warrior. There are not many people like him. Okay? So, and moreover about Israel, the counter evidence is very strong, because it doesn't make any sense to murder your greatest ally while keeping your greatest enemies that constantly lie against you alive, like Candace and Cucker and Schmucker and what's his face, the guy who wrote a song praising Schindler, Kanye, stuff like all the most terrible things people said. Nobody touches them, but who does Israel supposedly? Whatever. So, okay, so now I'm going to weigh we need to weigh the evidence and the counter evidence. So the evidence, I give it 2 out of 10, and that's being that's given. I would give it 1, but it's 2 because it has something, right? And to the counter evidence, I give 7 out of 10. So you can say it's like this, right? If you have a scale of truth, of justice, the stupid theory about the is down here, and the counter evidence is up here. You always have to weigh counter with the evidence, right? Now, next step is comparing with alternative theories, right? One theory that is right now in the news is that a radical leftist that had a transitioning transgender boyfriend. So this radical leftist from the progressive gender fluid left murdered Charlie Kirk. Okay, that is a theory. There is DNA evidence for that. There are chats. His own family of the suspect turned him in, right? His dad turned him in. What do you think? He just turned him in because he hates his son? And there was like $1 million reward, and his family refused to accept the $1 million reward, and gave it, I think, to the Kirk family. And there are a lot of evidence. Now there's a trial, right? But you can't just you can say that the government and the FBI are lying to you. You can believe that, but if you look at this critically, it's important you can't just brush away anything that doesn't fit your own desired narrative. You know what I mean? It's like, for instance, there are some people who believe there are no viruses, or the whole virus theory. I don't mind thinking about that, but you have to present a shitload of evidence. Pardon my French, because you have to look at the amount of evidence that people put about this theory, and then you have to refute it. You have to work hard to refute it. So just saying, everybody's lying. So the DNA evidence, no, everything is a lie. It's just making that's sloppy. You're just sloppy thinking, right? It's confirmation bias and the Semmelweis effect. The Semmelweis effect is rejecting any information that doesn't fit your narrative. You shouldn't do that, right? So that's a theory that right now there's a trial about that. Another theory that I can propose, for instance, is some radical Islamist group murdered him, right? Now, I don't propose this theory because I'm not a scumbag, because I'm not somebody who just pushes some narrative. But for instance, it has a lot more logic and evidence and stuff like that than the theory about Israel, right? Because Charlie Kirk actually was speaking against Islamist, the Islamist in the West, and against he was pro-Israel, stuff like that, right? So why not? I mean, such a theory has more merit than that. I'm not supposing this because I saw no evidence of this, right? But at least logically, it will make more sense. So this begs the question: why are people focusing on Israel on this matter? Why a day after the assassination, the internet solved the problem? Okay. So again, try not to cherry pick. Try not to use confirmation bias and the Semmelweis effect, and to use sloppy and thinking. You know, cherry picking a few data points that have some supposed correlation to Israel and the Jews, while ignoring all other data points and just saying no, blah blah. They're lying. They're not lying. You know. Okay. So there's another thing you can use is Occam's razor. I'm sure you people are familiar with it. It's not like a rule, but it's something that can help you. The straightforward explanation, supported by evidence and logic, it has more chances of being true than the crooked one, right? So if I'm walking down the street and suddenly I'm wet, most of the time, the straightforward explanation, maybe it's raining, so I got wet, right? So it could be that there's an elephant behind me with a trunk of water that just spilled water on me, right? But I don't see an elephant, and and I look up, I see clouds with whatever. I'm just it's not a good example, but the most straightforward and simple explanation has a better chance probability of being true. It doesn't mean it's always true, right? But it's also something you need to consider. Okay. Okay. So moving on, does this theory about Israel assassinating Kirk, does it generate new predictions? Like in science, when you have a new theory, but this theory, new prediction could be that there would be more violence from the group behind the assassination toward the conservative targets, right? So if you're supposing Israel is now suddenly everything's upside down and Israel is killing people who speak against it, I would say that look out. I mean, why stop here? But I don't see Candace or Cucker or anybody like being concerned at all for the safety or stuff like that. And it's not because all of them are so brave. Oh wow, no, they know it's bullshit. Because logically, if this was the modus operandi, if this was the way Israel, does things, then there would be more of it, right? But what do we see more? We see left violence more. We saw shooting in an ICE facility a week ago or something. We saw more leftist violence, radical left ICE facility in Dallas, right? And more radical leftist violence. So the predictions actually they go along with the first main theory, which is now under trial of the guy who was caught fleeing from the scene on camera, and his father turned him in, and there's DNA evidence, and he had a trans boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. The predictions that there will be more violence from that group, this radical left group, have come true. So as to strengthen that theory, not the theory that whatever, right? That aliens killed the whatever, So next step, what are the implications and the consequences of this theory against Israel? Well, we know that first come ideas, first comes speech, right? And then comes physical action, physical violence, right? As a Jew, as Jewish people, we have experienced this for centuries, right? First, they say we poison the wells, we carry diseases, vermin, right? That's what they did. We bake matzah bread with Gentile blood. I mean, I don't know. It's not kosher. I don't know why would whatever. They lie. They make up things. They incite people against you, and then you have the violence, and then Jewish blood is spilled, right? So you have to understand that this is not just, oh, you're upset they're saying this. No, this has real life or death consequences, okay? So in a moral sense, people who are spreading these lies, right? I've called it a theory, now I call it a lie, after I've gone through everything. They could have blood on their hands. Freedom of speech, but also when is speech not like it incites violence, like not directly, but morally, ethically, this is wrong. Of course, and politically, this could cause harm to U.S.-Israel relations. Plus, it could cause turmoil in the right, and all kinds of things like that. I don't see any upside to this theory, except if you want to hate on Jews and Israel, stuff like that, if that's your pastime and that's what you enjoy doing, some things maybe you shouldn't not do, even if you enjoy doing it, right? So, what is the current status of the theory? People closest to Charlie, everyone close to Charlie has rejected these things, these claims, these bullshit things about them, right? And here's just a small clip of Charlie.
The greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and the second greatest trip I ever took was to Israel. I've only been there twice. I'm a huge supporter of the Holy Land, of Judea and Samaria, and up against the terrorist organizations, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Authority to college campuses. And I've spoke at more college campuses than any Christian conservative in the last couple of years: Stanford, Berkeley, Brown, UCLA, University of Texas, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, you name it, I've probably spoken at major universities or states all across the country, from Montana State to Maine. And I am confronted many times by young Christians that believe that Israel is an oppressive apartheid state that basically should not exist in its current form. And so I'm here to clearly communicate to you that we have to do a much better job of communicating, of conveying, I should say, the geopolitical significance of the state of Israel.
Okay, thank you.
It was Charlie who stood up for persecuted Christians and Jews.
Oh, we saw that already. Let's stay with Trump. Okay, so we're coming to the end. We're almost finished evaluating the theory. Can it be falsified? One of the basic things in science is the falsifiability, right, of a theory. A theory can't really be scientific if you can't falsify it, right? There has to at least some point where you can say, okay, if I prove you this, then your theory is false. But you can't falsify hypotheticals, right? So if your theory mainly based on hypotheticals, if Charlie was going to become Catholic and a Jew hater, and Israel hypothetically knew it would happen, so everything is based on hypotheticals here. So I can't disprove it. It's not. Albeit, this is not a very scientific theory, to say the least, right? So a good way to check if something is provable or unfalsifiable is ask yourself what observation or experiment could prove the claim wrong, right? If you have nothing, there's nothing that could prove wrong. It's unfalsifiable. So this theory is based on hypotheticals, and it's unfalsifiable because there's nothing substantial to it. It's a lot of fucking stinky hot air, right? So, okay, now I'll reach the end. My personal evaluation. Okay, what are the strengths of the theory? The strengths are that it gives opportunity and room for Jew and Israel haters, right? It gives them room to play, to enjoy themselves, right? To they enjoy it. To put the blame on the scapegoat, the Jews, and to hate on Israel. And if it's cool for them, right? So it's fun for them, right? And also it helps alleviate cognitive dissonance about a lone killer that venomously took away such a meaningful life. But for that, I would say his death, he was a martyr. He became a martyr in his death, and his message became larger than ever, larger than life, let's say. So trust, believe that although it's very tragic, and we don't know, he died in his prime, and I mean, Moses didn't get to enter the Holy Land, right? And Moses, the greatest Navi, greatest prophet, closest to God, So, but even he didn't get to enter. But he died with a kiss, That he saw the promised land. He knew that Israel was going to, So it's a death with a kiss, One might say Charlie's death was quick. They say he didn't have pain, and I don't know. He was a great man. Many times great. I don't know. Some great people. Some people, great people die young. I don't know. He accomplished so much in his life. People go a lifetime, without accomplishing. So okay. So for me, this Israel did it theory. I thought it's a score of 2 from 10, and it's just a modern blood libel. Because why do it's from now on? I will not refer to it as a theory, because I've gone through the critical analysis. It's a blood libel because of the quick turning to blame the Jews a day after, with no objective reason or evidence, right? To cherry pick random data points and to turn hypotheticals into, it's total aversion of logic, total, there's no logic, there's no evidence, it's bullshit, and it's actually a modern blood libel. So it's significant. It's something significant. It's something we should look into, like I did, And like I said before, words have consequences. Words lead to action. So it's not just fun and games. It's not just playing. You're playing with people's lives. Some of them don't care, of course. Some of them are psychopathic, like Candace. I think she's a narcissistic psychopath, but just allegedly. There's just I didn't, but looking at her, she's very opportunistic. I mean, I think she would say anything, maybe almost anything, if it, was for her gain. So I don't think she's a moral person at all. I think actually she really fits what a psychopath is. Like, she plays the game really well with people. She's a very good manipulator. I don't think she really feels like I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know, because I can't evaluate from afar. But allegedly, it seems that she fits the at least somewhat psychopathic in the traits, right? So I leave you with this. Like I said, words have meaning, and ideas are very important. So, like we saw that more than 2,000 years ago, a great Jew, was murdered for his ideas, and now, even till this day, people worship him, right? And now recently we saw a great man murdered for his ideas, right? Charlie Kirk was murdered because of things he said, because he wanted to talk, because of ideas. So what you say matters, and take responsibility for it. And don't just believe things sloppily. Evaluate things critically, especially when it's important subjects, right? So, okay. And be good.